I am off. This is my last injection before I get to Copenhagen, and I tell you what, I am looking forward to getting this over. How I can get on a plane like this, you know, I wouldn't be able to get through this without my volcano vaporizer. Alright, I gotta get going. I got a flight to catch. I will see you on the other side. Yeah. Okay, Steve Ludwin here. It's 6 a.m. Wake and bake and snake time for me. I don't know why I do this to myself. I'm about to get on the plane and I always feel that I need to top up. Would you want to sit next to me on a plane in this t-shirt? Oh, here I am in the center of Copenhagen. The University of Copenhagen has kindly put me up. This is the trappings of, you know, self-immunization fame. Look at, I'm right in the center. Look at these views. I've never stayed in a place like this before. Hello, Denmark. Wow. You can see how the Vikings left their influence here. Look at that. Copenhagen is one of the most beautiful, beautiful cities I've ever been to. This view is fucking crazy, insane. Wow. I'm not gonna want to leave here. Damn.
It's coming.
Well, if we don't win the Nobel Medicine Prize for what we're doing, I give up. Farm those antibodies, farm those antibodies. How much more do we need, doctor?
6 to 5.
It's a dirty job, but someone's gotta do it. Well, it's a dirty job, but someone's gotta do it. We care a lot about snake bite victims dying around the world. We care a lot. That's it. It's my last time giving blood, hopefully here in Denmark. That's it.
That's it.
I am finished. That's a year and a half's work. Done. I can retire.
Well,
I'm going to Costa Rica. The Danish are sick. Look at that poor polar bear. Can anyone tell me what type of snake this is?
Cobra.
Hold on, think before.
It looks like a monocle cobra.
What?
Monocle cobra.
A monocle cobra. Very good. Very good. You see it? It's a little snake joke here. Not many people get that. It's a monocled cobra.
The reason why I know is because it's the one I put on my picture.
That was, yeah. Naja Kuthia.
Yeah, exactly.
Monocled cobra. Very good.
Wow.
Not many people get that. Okay, I'd like to thank Brian for inviting me to speak here today. It's my worst nightmare. I've never done public speaking before. I've had nightmares for 2 weeks over this. I flunked out of school because I refused to do it. So if I'm nervous, I'm supposed to speak for 15 minutes. I should calm down after about 14 minutes. And that last minute should be really good. So yeah, my name is Steve, and I'm here to talk about self-immunization with various snake venom, something that I've been doing for close to 28 years now. And I just kind of wanted to give you a little background into how I started and what we're currently doing here at this project. So basically, I would say I was born with a love for snakes. Like, I apparently was drawing snakes, you know, when I was 3.5 years old, and just obsessed by them, you know. And I don't know where that came from, because my parents, we lived in a city, and my parents were devoid of any love for the natural world. So snakes, 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 that's all I cared about. I would, finally we moved into Connecticut in the countryside, and I started catching my first snakes and driving my parents crazy, and had a pet boa constrictor and stuff. But when I was about 9, 10 years old, my dad was a Pan Am pilot, so flew around for free and stuff. I went down to the Miami Serpentarium, which is a famous place now. It doesn't exist, but I met a guy there called Dr. Bill Haast. Have you ever heard of him? Dr. Bill Haast. He basically is the first Westerner to start self-immunizing with snake venoms. He started in 1948, and he died a couple years ago, just short of 101 years old. He claims he'd never been sick a day in his life, and he was in good health. But when I was 9 or 10 years old, I went to the Serpentarium, and I saw him milking cobras, and I was quite aware of what he was doing. He talked about it, and it just kind of stuck with me. I was like, wow, you can become immune to snake venom? That's really cool. It kind of stayed in my head. And I think when I was around 17, in the wintertime in Connecticut, I just had this light bulb moment go off in my head when I was alone, that it was pretty much, I had this, inner voice that just said, you're going to do this. You're going to inject snake venom. I actually, was kind of almost given the types, and I just basically had this feeling of, this is what you're going to do, and in the future, it's going to produce something really good. Something good is going to come out of this. And it just kind of stayed in my head, and I dropped out of university, and I moved to London to seek a career in music, which was my second other love. But my first job in London as an illegal alien was working in it was like a reptile importing business, and that would, we would sell venomous creatures to various zoos and universities and stuff. So here I was, 19, 20 years old in London, and suddenly I had access to all these things that I wanted. So I started taking them home. My boss was cool with it, and I started, keeping venomous snakes, and I think I just basically was like, right, I'm going to start this, and I learned how to milk snakes. Just nobody taught me. There was no books on the subject matter. There was no internet back then and stuff, so I just had to kind of learn how to milk snakes from seeing it on TV and stuff. But that first time when I tried the venom was, looking back on it, it was really scary. I had no idea, and I don't have a medical background, so I had no idea what I was doing. It was just instinct. And it felt like instinct, which is quite strange as well. It felt like I was driven to do this, and it felt really natural. And the first time I did it, it was very similar, I guess, to how other indigenous people had done it. I didn't use a syringe. I just used the method of, I basically used a scalpel, and I would make 2 small incisions into my arm, and then I would milk the snake. And the snake that I used, the first snake I used was a hemotoxic snake. I was using a tree viper. It turns out that Bill Haast, the original guy, didn't really use hemotoxins because they're so damaging to your body. And here I was, I'm like the Beavis and Butthead of science, so I didn't know that. And of course, it did a lot of damage. I'd put it onto the cut, and you'd instantly feel the burn. And I think the first time I did it, it was like, I immediately washed it off, but you could still see, you'd see it bleeding, and you'd see an instant reaction of swelling. It looked like a nasty sort of bee sting. And those first couple times when I would do it, you would get incredible bruising and discoloration for 2 weeks afterwards. So I was very slow, and the reason why I started, I wasn't very clear back then. I think it was just self-experimentation. I had a morbid curiosity. But I noticed over the next couple years that my body was recovering a lot quicker. That the venom, I could use more venom, and it would have less of an effect. So in my dumb mind, I kind of thought, okay, this is working. It has to be working. And after about 5 years of doing it, I started getting more serious about it and started increasing the amounts I think probably 10 years into it. And I became really interested in the effects it was having on my body. Another thing I did, because I was a touring rock musician, I noticed when everyone's sharing mics and getting, screaming every night, and in the wintertime, that's how you get sore throats. You're getting it from everyone. And that's not what you want as a singer. So I came up with the idea that, hey, what would happen if you gargled with rattlesnake venom? I had this feeling that it was going to be good. So I tried that, and I diluted it a little bit, and I gargled with it, just literally, like all in the back of your throat. If I felt, if everyone was coming down with something, and I kind of felt like something was wrong with my throat. And the first time I did it, it was like, you could feel it, but I spat it out, and you could kind of feel something happening. It was like it singed your throat. Then my throat started tightening up and almost closing, so my breathing went a little bit funny. So I was like, maybe this isn't good. But that stopped, and the next morning, sort of wake up and it's like, wow, I feel fine, and I don't have a sore throat. Everybody else on tour has a sore throat, and I kept on doing that for years. And I recently heard from a doctor, someone who was working with cancer patients in Jordan, and it was just a top Jordanian general, and he basically said that they've been gargling with snake venom for centuries, and that all the top people in the army do it once a week. So it kind of made me think, that's interesting. It did feel like it worked. I just kept on adding more and more, and then I learned to inject and dilute. And again, the same thing was happening. I was getting incredible swelling, but over time, it was getting smaller and smaller. So I think I basically proved to myself that, it's possible to become immune. I could tell just by the side effects. But I started getting really interested in what it could possibly be doing to my body. And I noticed that I wasn't getting ill like everyone else. And I'm currently on 12 years now without a flu or a cold or anything, which I think is pretty amazing. And I'm wondering if it's possible that you can strengthen your immune system, possibly, by causing so much damage and so much inflammation. I guess my theory is that, every time you inject a highly evolved reptilian saliva into your body, that your white blood cells just charge that area and fight it. And while everyone else is out there lifting weights to get stronger, I kind of felt that I was doing this thing where my immune system was getting a workout, so to speak. And I hope that someday that can get researched. I'm also interested at the moment, and I've read something, there was an accidental thing that came out in some experiments that there was some experiments on mice that had been injected with small amounts of snake venom. They had found out had aged slower than mice that hadn't. I quite like that possibility that perhaps, again, that constant damage somehow affects the aging process, and I think it's something that could be interesting in the future. Also, concerning snake venom with anti-aging, I don't know if you know, but on the last 15 years or so, there's been something on the market called Snake. It's a synthetic thing that a Swiss pharmaceutical company made. They're called Pentapharm, and it's used in anti-aging creams. There's quite a few celebrities like Tom Cruise and Gwyneth Paltrow. Have you read about it? Yeah. Snake venom in anti-aging creams. Yeah. And it's proven to work. That's why it's on the market. It's like a non-invasive Botox, I guess. So I'm kind of interested in the anti-aging properties of snake venom as well. So here we are. I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing with Brian and Andreas and Pal. The idea, I guess, is that they are farming my antibodies, and the hope is that we can use human antibodies for the first time rather than using ones from horses, which, as we know, are a bit dangerous. And it kind of seems like old school technology to me. It seems like it really needs to be updated And so, I guess over the last year, I've really upped the game. I've basically been using mostly hemotoxins most of my life, so rattlesnakes and vipers and stuff like that. But over, I think, probably about the last 7 years, I've added some neurotoxins into it just to see what it was like. And I think the neurotoxins are a lot easier to become immune to because there's less damage. Like they say, just using pure neurotoxins is quite simple to build up an immunity to it. But I've really enjoyed making a cocktail. And for this project, against Andreas's, he was saying, don't do it, don't change what you're doing. And you were doing the same. But I thought, hey, if we're trying to farm antibodies here, I came up with this solution that it would probably be best to add some more venoms into my cocktail, especially some of the worst offenders, So this July, I went down to a place down in Kent, a venom lab, and I convinced them to let me, milk some of their snakes for this project. So for the first time, I think it's been about 6 months now, I've been using black mamba venom, and I milked a Cape cobra, which is the most toxic cobra on the planet. It's a South African one. And then I went for a saw-scaled viper. Do you know what a saw-scaled viper is? It's bad, and it's one of the worst. It's a problematic snake, all throughout. It's really bad, really, really bad. It kills a lot of people, and it does terrible things to you. I added puff adder, which is a problematic snake in Africa. And then my favorite, the fer-de-lance. I put some fer-de-lance in there. And when I got these snakes, I brought it home, and I was like, oh, wow. And I was just like, putting like 3 drops into each cup. And then I was actually watering it down with rattlesnake venom, eyelash viper venom, various tree vipers, and I have naja, which is the Indian spectacle cobra, naja kuthia, and the American copperhead, which is an interesting snake. I don't know if you know about. They're using copperhead venom in the States. I think they're on phase 2 trials there's a compound in their venom called contorprostatine, and it's actually in the Latin name of that snake, and that compound they're finding is inhibiting breast cancer cells and ovarian cancer cells and stuff. So that's quite exciting. So I chucked that into the mix. So I have like 12 species of snakes into this mix that I've been doing. And I feel very confident that the antibodies that you'll find are going to be good and strong. And hopefully I'll still be alive.
I hope you will still be.
Yeah, it's fine. It's been really interesting. Actually, in the last month or so, again, I feel as if I'm much better at beating those venoms than I was 6 months ago. So, what else can I say? So yes, snakes. If you were to ask I just got back from Australia. If you were to ask an Aborigine what they believe there's a rainbow serpent that goes around the earth. If you were to ask an indigenous person in the Amazon what they believe, and they believe there's a giant snake that goes around the earth. Yin and yang, that symbol, is 2 snakes. It symbols, I guess, eternity. They're swallowing each other's tails. All throughout history, there's all kinds of coincidences. The symbol of medicine, like that. I think the snake is it's just there's so many arrows pointing to that, and I'm really excited that there's people out there that are studying it, and I think could possibly be the future of medicine. Like we were saying, something so dangerous perhaps can save us. What else can I say? It's a lot of people asking me questions about why do you do it and stuff, and now it feels like there's a real purpose to it. And it's pretty cool. In London, it's kind of like I don't know, sometimes my arms look pretty bad and I've got, lots of bruising and stuff, but it's kind of like having heroin chic without the heroin. So it's pretty cool. That was a joke.
Pretty good joke.
Heroin chic is very, very trendy in London to look like a heroin addict, which I do, but I don't do heroin. Actually, injecting snake venom, I think, has been pretty healthy for my life, because on doctors' advice for the last 10 years, they said, like, if you're going to do this, because I've had a lot of doctors just say, you can't do this. Your body's not going to be able to take it. Your liver and your kidneys, they're just not going to be able to take it. But they recommended that I don't drink alcohol and stuff. So, like, for about 10 years, I've really just not really put that into my system. So perhaps that's a good thing. Yes, so do we have any questions?
Thank you.
Well, first of all,
Was my American accent not annoying?
no,
Is it okay?
It was the first one I understood.
I really gotta say, on my crazy scale, you're like on the top 3 now. That is,
Yeah,
Black Mamba with cold.
Yeah, that was. It made me laugh. I was like, "What am I doing?" I thought I was making it safer, you know. But again, the first time I tried that, I was very, you know, I was cautious.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty good at it now. I mean, I've had.
Still here.
Yeah, I've had. I think over the last 5 years, I've learned from mistakes, and I've had lots of mistakes. I've had funny mistakes. I've been in 3 days intensive care in London before because I had an overdose. Like, I was doing an injection that went completely wrong. I had a Northern Pacific rattlesnake, which is a really toxic and neurotoxic and hemotoxic rattlesnake. I had eyelash viper and a green tree viper in this mix. And I had, you know, there was a good whack of venom in that syringe, and I put it into my arm, and I only wanted to put a little bit in. I was being very lazy. I didn't do any dilution. I was just like, I'm just going to put a little bit in. And I was pressing down on the syringe, and it just wasn't going down. And I think I looked up for a second or whatever, and I'm pressing on the syringe, and the next thing I know, it just went, and the whole thing went in.
You do it like IV injection or
Just subcutaneous, yeah. So as soon as that went in, I was like, fuck, and you just felt it. It was just like, oh, God. I called my girlfriend. I was like, oh, I did something really stupid. And literally within 15 minutes, you know, to a half an hour, I took photos of it. If you could see what my hand looked like, it just blew up. You wouldn't see any bones or veins. It just blew up and stuff. And an hour into that, you know, I sort of lied down and you could feel it. My tongue was numb and everything. It was just swimming around my body and stuff. So I didn't go to the hospital till the next morning because I was just like, I just thought, you know, I could beat it, or I actually thought I didn't want the authorities knowing what I was doing because I wasn't legally allowed to keep these snakes. You have to have special permits and stuff. So but the next morning, I had to go to the hospital because I had like swelling here, and it was all the way up to here, and it was going black and stuff. So I have had a lot of accidents, you know, and I have a lot of scar tissue on my legs where various like cobra venoms have eaten my flesh, and you know, it's not easy, is what I'm saying. It's not like, you know, but now I think I have a technique that I think is super, super safe, and yeah, it seems to be working now. So. Once this project is finished, and it was supposed to be finished 2 months ago, I came here for my final blood, and I was like, yes, I'm going to retire, because I can't keep on doing this. You know, I could just feel it was starting to be too stressful on my body. But something happened to the blood in what was it?
There was impurity in the RNA that we isolated.
Yes. So I have 2 more visits to Denmark, and that should be it. And I'm going to give up those 5 offenders like Black Mamba and stuff like that. Stop taking that, and I'm going to really slow down and just go back to the snakes that I have an interest in, and sort of make it a lot easier for myself. But
so you do all this schematically? I mean, you have a schematic, you have certain times where you inject snakes, or is it just like...
You have like a schedule as to like when?
Yeah, and I just kind of now I've been doing it every other day, okay. Sometimes every day, just, you know, building it up like that. But usually, like before I was doing this project, I was probably doing it a long time ago, I used to do it like every 2 months, but then I went down to like once a month, and then basically I do it every 2 weeks. For the last 8 years, I probably did it every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Just, like that.
Wow. Okay.
But when you've been using like the black mamba and these neurotoxic snakes, what effects have you felt in your body?
It's strange with the neurotoxins because I've been doing hemotoxins all my life. I can judge it. I can see the swelling and stuff like that. With neurotoxins, I can't. I don't know if I was imagining symptoms. Sometimes I felt a little bit, especially in the last couple of weeks, like a little bit. I wonder if it builds up because I'm doing it every day. Like, I don't know, like a little bit dopey, a little bit drunk, and Andreas actually really frightened me. He got in touch with me. He said, "Don't do black mamba venom. You can't become immune to it," which I think is wrong. I think you can. But he was just saying, he sent me a video of, look what it does to mice. And he was showing me the mice running around in circles and stuff. This is going to happen to you. Be really careful. So it kind of got in my head. And it was kind of a joke in my household when my girlfriend would get home. She would come in and I would be on the floor twisting in circles. She laughed. She knows my sense of humor. But I haven't really. I can't really say yes. I can feel the neurotoxins. You can definitely. I can sense hemotoxins, but the neurotoxins are just kind of like. It's just something you don't. I don't know. You don't want to look for. You don't want to feel it because it can be a bit scary. I suppose if you start feeling your heart. I've had issues where I've had my breathing start getting a little bit funny, and and a lot of the times I have to just tell myself. I've had people say, "Oh, you don't look good," or "Do you want to go to the hospital?" And I just kind of, I don't know. I kind of tell myself, "Hey, you've done this to yourself. Just go with it. And don't be a baby about it, and just be confident with it." And confidence seems to work.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Any other questions? Do you have any idea how long time you will have your antibodies in you if you stop tomorrow?
I don't know. We were talking about that today. I mean, some herpetologist told me that after about 6 months, you can there's some kind of cell remembrance. It forgets about it, and they said if you weren't to do it for 6 months, you could be starting at zero. But I don't know if that's true.
There's a big discussion about it. Pal knows more about it than I do.
But
it's very different. Some apparently they remember better. I mean, your immune system remembers.
But the adaptive immune system is supposed to be able to recognize these substances for many, many years. Isn't that also the whole point of vaccination? That you can, it can stay in your body for your whole life.
But it depends on what type of toxin.
So it depends on the antigen, basically. Yeah. Okay.
So some will stay most likely throughout your lifetime, and others will maybe only last for 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right a couple of months ago, right before I went to Australia, there was a primetime German sort of TV company that came to London, and they watched me do some injections. But the next day, they were really interested in the anti-aging properties because I showed them also because there's that anti-aging cream on the market. It's really expensive, and I learned about it. It's got such a small amount of synthetic snake venom in it. I thought, I'm going to make my own. And so I just got a really good base in the fridge, and I milk all the snakes, and I just put raw venom in it. And for about a year and a half, been using that, just keep it in the fridge. And so they marched me down to Harley Street and to a skin specialist. And they had the cameras on and stuff, and they were doing all these tests on my face. And I was born in 1966, so I'm going to be 50 years old this year. And this doctor, this skin specialist, was like totally, I'm 50 years old this year. So this skin specialist was just on camera, and it went out on primetime TV about 4 weeks ago. And I've been getting tons of emails from Germans and going, "We want to buy your cream." But the skin specialist in front of them, they were there to, they were skeptical. But he's like, "I've never seen results like this. I scored in 98%, and and I've been surfing all my life and just whatever. I don't look after myself, and I freaked them out on the score. So, are there anti-aging possibilities within Snake Venom? It is possible, I guess, and I think there's a lot to explore within Snake Venom, and also other animal venoms.
When you're milking your snakes, have you ever been bitten by some of those?
Not when I'm milking, but I've been bitten twice in my life, and the second time was the day before I came here for the last one. Do you remember my hand? Yeah, it was my birthday actually, and we went out to dinner, and I got back and I had some new snakes, and I was like looking at them, and I put my hand in to change like a water bowl, and I remember having that feeling, don't do that, you're going to get bit. And I ignored it, and I put my hand there, and this little copperhead just went dink and got me on the finger. So that was my second bite, and it sucks. Like, snake bite really, really sucks. It's the most excruciating, horrific thing. I feel sorry for people that's why I think it's really important as well. I mean, there's going to be an anti-venom shortage, as you might have read, and stuff like that. And let's say 100,000 people a year die now. I mean, what is it going to be like in 5 years' time when there are, the pharmaceutical companies aren't making these anti-venoms? It's extremely painful and frightening, and even this little copperhead, it messed me up. Still now, it feels like I have arthritis. Like I can feel it in my finger, and I'm wondering, like, oh my God, it's not even a super lethal snake, and I immunize with that. Why has it had that reaction? But it's bad, So snake bite isn't fun. Hello, kids. You see me.